everyone, Niklsun here, and welcome to Coming Soon Reviews. On this show, every week I will be reviewing a major release and then going over the pros and cons of that movie, as well as giving my overall impression of what I felt the film deserves. Now, the movie I'm going to be reviewing this week is Tom Cruise and Emily Blunt's new action sci-fi flick, Edge of Tomorrow. So I'm going to start off with the positives. This movie completely took me by surprise. The cast alone, like when you see Tom Cruise in a sci-fi action flick, you automatically assume everything that's going to happen in the movie because you feel like you've seen it before, and rightfully so. A lot of his movies do follow a very similar formula, but at the end of the day, he always gives it his all. There's always, you can tell he's giving 125,000% to his performance for the audience. That is his main goal. This movie, on the other hand, does not have him needing to worry about that because he has such a strong story to work with. He has amazing actors and characters that are written into the script to surround himself with. The premise of the movie is unbelievable. Once you see the movie, a lot of people on the surface will say, "Oh, it's an action version of Groundhog's Day. I've already seen it." No, once you got to go in and watch the movie to see how they utilize that plot device, how they utilize the technology that is in the movie. And the amount of action that is in this film is incredible. The opening action sequence in the movie is reminiscent of D-Day. And that was one of the things that I took away from the film, especially considering the fact that it opens on June 6th, which is the anniversary of D-Day. Actually, this June 6th is the 70th anniversary. Like, I mean, when you're watching it, first off, the setting, like they're in London and they are invading France. Like, it's got a lot of parallels to D-Day. It's got a lot of parallels to World War II in general. Which I liked that about the film. It really gave it its own unique universe to fit within, because they don't really give an accurate time frame as to when this movie is set. It's supposedly set right around now, maybe a little bit in the future, but there's no actual time frame that's given. The thing that really surprised me about this movie, there's a lot of comedy in it. There's a lot of funny parts in this movie. They've really been hiding that from the advertisements, which I don't understand. Maybe to try not to sell it as something that is a comedy and trying to sell it as an action film, which at its heart it is, but I almost feel like there's an undertone of a dark comedy in this movie. Like, one of the versions of the script was actually a dark comedy, and then they added more drama and more action to it, which didn't feel like there were too many cooks in the kitchen. This really felt really tight, really well written. The one thing out of everything, if I had to pick one thing in the movie that I liked the most, it was the juxtaposition of Tom Cruise's career versus his role in this movie, because it really is, it's almost his entire career in a film. Like, he starts off as a rookie. His character in the movie, if you haven't seen any of the full trailers for it, his character in the movie, and this is given away in literally the first 30 seconds of the film, so I'm not ruining anything. His character in the movie is a PA, basically, like a press associate. He is the face of the military. He is their public relations individual. And through different circumstances I won't give away, he is basically brought into the action. He is brought into this crew. He's basically ordered to suit up. He's going to be with the invasion. The general actually wants him to film it, essentially. He wants to take his film crew and be on the ground with them. And so that's what kind of gets the ball rolling about everything. But you really get to see the different nuances to what Cruise brings to this role, which is, it's something we haven't seen him do in a while. He's always played that hardened action hero. Like, you look at Mission Impossible, even Oblivion from last year. You know, like, he always plays this hardened individual, the person who's been through it all. And this guy hasn't been through anything, which I really thought was a nice change of pace for him. But throughout the film, he builds up his confidence, he builds up his exposure, he builds up all this character, essentially, which I really thought was a nice way to showcase Tom Cruise's acting abilities, because we haven't really seen that on display in a long time, outside of his intensity, his action persona, as it were. But another thing that I really took away from it as well was Emily Blunt. The fact that her character was not the damsel in distress. I'm really liking the strong female characters that Hollywood is starting to put out. The fact that they are not, they're not required to have the guy save the day. They can kick their own, like they can kick their own ass. They can kick ass just as much as the guys can. And her given Emily Blunt given that massive sword, that thing was just cool looking. You can tell just based on the sword alone that this is from a Japanese manga. It was originally titled All You Need Is Kill, which I think was a better title, but those are the main positives of the movie. Like, I really can't rave about it anymore. Like, the storyline of the movie is very, very good. It has elements of Groundhog's Day, but it is not the main section of it. I really like the integral plot device that they have with them in search for this one thing, and really trying to get to a certain point. Oh, I didn't even talk about the video game parallels. This movie is literally like a cinematic version of a video game, because you have respawn. You respawn at the beginning of the mission every time that he dies. But the fact that it's almost like a movie version. If they took the plot from Groundhog's Day and put it into a Halo video game, that's what we got. And they made a movie about that. That's what we got, which is incredible. Like the mimics, as they're called, the aliens, look incredible. They almost reminded me a little bit of the symbiote from Spider-Man, like the Venom symbiote. How it's like a goo, and it just attaches itself to different things, and it's a fluid motion. It doesn't necessarily have legs or tentacles or anything like that. It's a fluid. It's an organism. I just love the designs of them, and the what I'm going to do at the end of the review as well is I am going to go over a spoiler section, because I want to discuss it and I want to know your guys' viewpoint on this as well, which you can put in the comment section. So that's the main positives of it, the fact that it's basically a live action video game, but it works. The story is so strong. The characters are very well written, especially supporting characters like Bill Paxton. Bill Paxton's hilarious in this movie, but not like yuck yuck kind of funny. Like it's the situational humor, which I really like, the very kind of smart humor. But some of the negatives that I will talk about, I do find that they don't delve too much into how the time loop works, into how he's able to do. I mean, they do talk about it, but and especially dealing with what happens at the end, which I'll talk about in the spoiler section, they just don't give enough background into how that happens. And it does take a little bit of time for the movie to get its stride. It takes about 25 to 30 minutes, maybe even longer, before we're actually introduced to the first action sequence. So when I was watching it, the first thing I was thinking, because this movie's been so well received, I'm watching it, I'm thinking, okay, maybe I'm just not getting it. I don't understand why people are liking this so much, but it's just because it's a slow build. It takes about 20 to 25 minutes for it to really introduce you to the world, to the characters, to the initial situation, and then letting you see it all take place in different ways and different viewpoints, which I really like. Like there were a lot of really cool things about it. It just, in my personal opinion, it did take a little bit too long to get into that. But those are my only negatives. Those are really, again, this is just after my first time watching it. I am most likely going to be going back to see it again, but based on my first time seeing it, those are the only things that I can find wrong with it. So I'm going to give my overall score of the film, and then I'm going to talk about a few spoilers, and then that's going to be it. So my overall score out of this film, and this may surprise some people, but I'm giving it a 9 out of 10. This movie, again, it completely came out of left field. I had no way of knowing this movie was going to be this good. It's really, I think, going to surprise you when you watch it and you see the evolution of Tom Cruise's character. You see the things that have happened to him off screen that you haven't witnessed throughout his revisits of that day. But the way that he holds himself, the way that he carries himself, is unlike a Tom Cruise character until we get more so into the film. But at the beginning, he's cowardly. It's just a very layered character, which I have not seen from him in a long time, and I was very surprised to see that. And this even makes me more and more excited to see Splinter Cell, because Doug Liman, the director of this movie, is now moving full steam ahead on Splinter Cell. So I can really see that movie taking off, because this is by far the best movie of his career. Alright, so that's my overall review. I'm giving it a 9 out of 10. I really enjoyed the movie. There were a few things that they could have worked on a little bit more, but overall I really do feel it was a very tight-knit film. They did a very good job, and I am looking forward to seeing if potentially they could take this franchise in another direction. I would really like to see the continuation of these characters, but it's going to be very difficult, because this is a very self-contained movie. They don't really set it up in the sense to make another film, very much in the way that Pacific Rim. Pacific Rim has been eyed to be a franchise, but they did make it a very self-contained film, especially when you watch it towards the end. So now I'm going to get into the spoiler section. So for those of you who don't want to be spoiled by anything or want to watch this after you've seen the film, you can just stop watching right now because I'm just doing the review on this show. But for those of you who have seen it, let's get into this discussion. I really want to know what you guys thought about this. So the ending. Two main parts about the ending. First off, when I initially saw it, I was confused because I didn't understand how certain things were happening. But the more and more I thought about it, the fact that once again, this is full spoilers, so I'm going to this is my final warning about spoilers. For those of you who don't want to know, you can just shut the video off. So I'm going to be talking about spoilers from here on out. So when they go to the Louvre and he dives down into the parking garage, and he gets impaled by the Alpha, but as he gets impaled, he's got his fingers on the grenades and he pulls them and blows it all up, and it resets the timeline. Now, when I first saw it and he immediately wakes up in the helicopter, I thought, what? Okay, how did that? No, that didn't make any sense because he'd never previously woken up there. He would have woken up on the tarmac, basically being ready to be shipped out, like as he always has. But then I thought about it, and I realized that, okay, well, a couple of things that were carried over from what he did. The mimics were destroyed, or at least they were severely weakened. They didn't really make that all that clear, but they were destroyed. So that meant that throughout the events of that day, if we're dealing with time travel, again, this is all in theory. This whole movie's in theory. So when dealing with time travel, because he had destroyed those things, that meant that there was no longer a need to invade, or at least on that scale, to invade France anymore. Therefore, he would have never had to go to the general's office. He would have never tried to blackmail him to not go. He would have never been arrested and tased and never would have woken up at that location. His initial wake up on that day, because again, it's based on when he regained consciousness. His initial time of waking up was in that helicopter before he landed in London. Therefore, in my opinion, I feel that makes sense. Like, that actually does make sense. Overall, when I walked out of it, I was like, I'm confused by that. I liked the movie up until the end, but that didn't make any sense. But the more and more I thought about it, I liked. And the thing that I liked the most about the ending was the fact that they just kind of left people knowing that, okay, he's probably going to pursue a romantic relationship with Emily Blunt's character. But they didn't need to show it. And I love that. She goes, hey, it's something like, I think she said her line that she said throughout the film, like, do I have something on my face? And he just kind of goes, and then the credits come up. I was like, brilliant. I was so happy. I was so worried that they were going to get into the whole tripe of him coming up and saying, Rose, and her immediately falling for him and then kissing and then it going to, no, it did not do that. He just kind of chuckled and then it went to credits. I was like, thank you. That was such a smart editing decision. It was a smart directing decision. Everything about it, I thought, was it was the perfect way to end it. The more and more I thought about it, and that's what made it even better. The fact that I had to think about it. Not all the answers were handed to me. I did actually have to think about it. The answers were there, but they were hidden. They were really oh, what's the word that I'm looking for? It starts with, oh, this is embarrassing. Subtle. Subtle is the word that I was looking for. Yeah, I mean, I'm really looking forward now to seeing what Doug Liman does with Splinter Cell, just because of what he's handled with this film. And obviously seeing where Tom Cruise and Emily Blunt take their careers, because I thought their chemistry in total was just very good. But again, those are the main spoilers that I want to talk about. I want to know what your guys' opinions are on the ending. If you feel that you saw it the same way that I did, or if you saw it differently, I definitely want to hear your opinions, because I want to know different viewpoints on this. So let me know in the comments section what you guys thought about everything about the film. Well, that's going to be my review here for Edge of Tomorrow, Tom Cruise and Emily Blunt's new sci-fi action film. Please go out and see this movie. It is not tracking very well for people to go and actually watch the film, even though it's getting amazing reviews. You need to go and support this, because we will get more movies that are thought-provoking, that people have put more time into the script instead of going to see a movie that was put together in a month. Do not go and support those movies. If it looks bad, don't see it. Wait to see it on Netflix or something like that, where they don't get anywhere near as much revenue. The reason that studios will progress on a new film is whether or not the box office totals have hit a certain number. That is the make or break of a sequel or franchise, or even just a continuation of a storyline in general. Do not go and see a movie if it looks terrible. I know that there's only so many kids' films out there, and Hollywood's not trying to really make them very good, but use your brain when going to see a movie, because I hate seeing these stupid movies being supported, like Adam Sandler's movies, with the exception of Blended. Blended is one of the first movies of his to come out that is not done very well at the box office. But for the most part, people go out in droves and support him. And they're terrible, terrible movies. I understand that there are certain films that will fit within a different review structure. You cannot look at a movie like Adam Sandler's the same way that you would look at like a high-end film, as it were, like a what would be a good example? A really smart This Is the End. Looking at a movie like This Is the End versus an Adam Sandler comedy. This Is the End is raunchy humor, yes, but it is done so well. The performances actually work. The chemistry between the actors works. It's not just them going on vacation. They're actually trying to bring about humor. Adam Sandler no longer wants to do that. He wants to get paid to go on vacation. And people are just going in droves to see him do that. And he's going to continue doing that. The studios are going to continue to fund him. So the more and more that people will basically stop supporting these guys, the more movies we'll get that are quality, because you're going to need to support those. So far, we've got a few very good films. But the ones just come off the top of my head. We have Captain America Winter Soldier. We have Godzilla, which I thought was pretty good, but not great. And then we have X-Men Days of Future Past. Now we have Edge of Tomorrow. From what I've been hearing about Transformers 4, it's actually going to be a unique film. So we got, and 22 Jump Street, I've heard, just blows the roof off of the original. So I mean, we got some really quality films coming up, and I really hope that people will be a little bit more in tune to the quality of the film before they go and support it. Anyway, that's the end of my rant. This has been Niklsun. Thank you guys so much for watching my review. Don't forget to click subscribe there in the bottom corner. You can also follow me on Twitter at Niklsun, Niklsun, to get all of your updates on all movie-related information. And don't forget to visit my website at movienewswithniklsun.ca, where you can submit any questions you want for a user questions section on Friday's episodes of Movie News with Niklsun. So, without any further ado, thank you so much for watching. You guys have been great, and you enjoy the rest of your day. Take care.